This is Kelso Surgeon. Thank you for joining us for our weekly edition of the NFL Handicapping 101. Looking for a Dynamite Sunday. As you know, I got all the cash last week with my 200-unit NFL Game of the Year as Seattle got the best of the Arizona Cardinals. Came right back on Monday night, cashed a 50-unit ticket on the underdog New York Giants as they beat the Dallas Cowboys. That left my personal best club members, my high rollers, up 250 units on the weekend, and for them a $100 per unit weekend got them $25,000. Keep in mind, membership in my personal best club is open, and obviously it's prorated for the season. But if you're looking to make the big money and you can bet $3,000 or $4,000 a game, my personal best club is designed just for you, and it does make money. So does my Chairman's Club and my Best Bets Club, but I just want you to know that the big money is in my Personal Best Club, because in that I release nothing less than 50-unit plays. Every play is from 50, 100, 200 units, and I may even go to 500 units before the season is over. I just have to have all the right edges to get it done. Well, let's talk a little bit about the NFL. You know, the underdogs are still prevailing right now. Underdogs in the NFL are 61, 35, and 6 this season, and that means that underdogs are covering an amazing, or make that an absolutely stunning, 64% of the time. Frankly, that doesn't confuse me. I changed my way of going about 3 weeks ago when I figured out what was happening, and that's why I went 5-0-1 this past weekend. Half the games I released were underdogs. But the one thing that I've got to just impress upon you so much, you must handicap every single NFL game on the card. You're going to find that these underdogs are in some situation maybe the better team in the game. I don't know why the lines are coming up the way they are, or why underdogs have dominated so much, because we're given the option every week. We can take the favorite, we can take the dog. But you know, if you handicap every game, you're going to uncover some of these underdogs yourself. I realize that there's some big surprises, like Oklahoma, I beg your pardon, Oakland burying the Denver Broncos last week by a score of 59-14. No one can say that was in the stars. Maybe taking the Raiders was, but expecting to win in that fashion was not. You just have to handicap every game, and you can't just look at the card or look in the newspaper and pick out 3 or 4 teams that look like winners and just use them. You can't do that anymore. The game has changed. Now, the change might go the other way before long, but you must handicap every single game. Don't disregard any team, underdog or favorite on any card. That's been the key to my success, digging into all the games and trying to find the edges that produce a point spread winner. And as you know, with underdogs this season, many of them have won straight up. Now, you know, the one thing that in handicapping the NFL, it's absolutely imperative to read between the lines. We all operate from the same pool of statistics and data. You know, you can find out everything I can find out as far as the statistical reviews of each team, how they do in certain circumstances, how their rushing game is, the passing game, the defense. That is all public information. Well, that means bookmakers operate from that same pool. We have no edge on them if we just rely on statistics. You must read between the lines, and you've got to dig in and find little things that are not necessarily on the minds or in the forefront of the public mind on these football teams, because hidden in all that data there is a puzzle that comes together and does give you an edge. Now, you know, in looking at some of these teams this season, they've actually signaled early on where they were or were not going. You know, what's wrong with the New Orleans Saints? They're 4-3. They won the Super Bowl last year. If you watched any of the New Orleans game, any of the last 2 New Orleans Saints games, this is a team that plays with absolutely no fire. I remember last season they would come out on the football field, and I guarantee you, if you'd been standing on the stadium floor, the hair on your arms would have stood straight up. There was that much electricity with this team. They just come out and their vanilla operation. They go through the motions, they put in their time, and they go home. This team is doomed if somebody doesn't build a fire under them. And it has to do with more than just the Super Bowl jinx. This team does not come to play. The New Orleans Saints, remember, they don't come to play. Maybe they will soon, but they're going to have to prove it to me before I'll use them. The San Diego Chargers. Here's a team that was picked to represent the American Football Conference in the Super Bowl. They're 2-5. Why are they 2-5? Well, you know, I've got a lot of reasons, and I don't want to go into them, but it boils down to too many mistakes and too much finger pointing. This is a team where a few key players, including quarterback Phil Rivers, he's pointing his finger at people saying, you're not doing your job, you're not getting it right. Well, he's not getting it right either. And so the Chargers, too many mistakes, too much finger pointing. They've got to show me something before I'll bet on them too. And by the way, I did have the New England Patriots against them last week, the underdog Patriots. The Denver Broncos, what's happened to them? They're 2-5. Well, it's pretty easy to figure out what happened to them. They don't have a coach. Josh McDaniels is absolutely incompetent and has no business coaching, being a head coach in the NFL. You know, while they're 2-5 this season, it's lost on a lot of people that they're 4-13 in their last 17 games from last season. McDaniels, he might be the nicest guy in the world, and I don't want to call him any bad names or whatever. He just simply doesn't know what he's doing. And the Denver Broncos are going to get worse. They're not going to get better. This coach cannot bring these people together and put them on the razor's edge to play. He is completely and totally incompetent, and until he's gone, the Broncos are doomed. Last but not least, what's wrong with the Dallas Cowboys? Well, why don't we just start with everything? As I've said on the show many times, I said before the season started they would be the biggest bust in the NFL this season, despite the fact they were the favorite to win the Super Bowl, because I sensed their offensive line was just trash. Just real bad. And you can't go anywhere without a good offensive line in either college or NFL football. But since then, more than the play of the offensive line, they've fallen apart on defense, and they just lost their quarterback. But, you know, it speaks a lot and loudly that they have scored one rushing touchdown the entire season. Think about that. Here's an NFL team. The offensive line can't block for them. One rushing touchdown the entire season. So as you look at these teams, the Saints, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Cowboys, I don't think it's going to get better for any of them anytime soon. And I'm not suggesting you bet against them every week. I'm just saying that if you have a go-against list, I'd put these 4 teams on it, and I'd be very careful. If I didn't want to bet against them, I would be very careful in betting on them. Thank you very much for watching. That's my NFL report for this week. I'll see you on my next Sunday with another rundown on the NFL, and we'll try to get the cash again.